Welcome back, everybody, to Flight Path. We have another amazing episode for you this week. I'm your host, David, joined as always by Brad and Molly, and we are channeling the energy on this Friday afternoon, or maybe it's Saturday morning. I know some of you watch this to kind of kick off your Saturday, but we have so many exciting things to talk to you about. If this is the first Flight Path that you've listened to or that you've watched, this is your weekly update on all things Tern. We talk about what we shipped that week. We talk about what we're working on. We know that we are adding updates all the time. Sometimes it can be hard to keep track of everything. We always tell people this is the podcast that you should be subscribing to if you are using Tern to run your business, because it will make you better. You'll understand the technology better and you'll understand what's coming. So if you haven't already, go ahead and click on that like button, click on the subscribe, turn on those notifications, and you will get that little notification every Friday afternoon when these go live. So let's jump in. We're going to start with like a check-in. How was the week? A little update. Brad, how are you doing today?
Oh, I feel so much more alive now. We were really worried about the energy, and we're all the way in. This week's been really fun. We've had a lot of like cool stuff we've been working on. Had a lot of great conversations with advisors who keep reaching out, just wanting to chat about Tern, to share feedback, to learn more. So it's been cool to get to connect more. And my personal highlight is my parents are visiting me this weekend in Philly. They were going to make a podcast appearance, but my mom realized that she didn't bring her Mom podcasting shirt, so she has to come. But
missed opportunity. I don't even know if we'd notice if they turn the lights off. They've got so much natural light in the office there. I mean, it's
not in the basement this time for them to wreak some havoc.
Yeah, that's we'll have to. That'd be great. I think the parents making a podcast appearance will be a necessity. That'd probably really boost our ratings. Molly, how are you doing? Looking very springy today. I feel like how are things?
Yeah, it's finally actually getting nice in Michigan, and I love the sun so much. So that has been absolutely wonderful. David, I think we told you to bring the energy. I think you overcorrected a little bit. Like full feedback for you. It was like very, very high energy.
Too much. Like settle down.
I'm not feeling that, but like I'm feeling good now too. I just had coffee with a Tern user, which is always so much fun. And it was cool. She's like, I'm going all in on Tern. Before I was like half in, half out using Dubsado, and I'm just like figuring out how to move all my processes over. So like we're kind of riffing on that and how she might do that, and taking down lots of feature requests as always, but just connecting in person is always so much fun. So coming off of that and feeling very good.
Love that. It's also so cool. Like, I mean, that having advisors and users like everywhere, right? There's like so many of those kind of like meetups that can happen, and it's so special. I'll kind of be honest with the listeners. This is synthetic energy right now that we're channeling, because I was up at 4 a.m. this morning to catch a flight back from Clia. Evan and I were there, which was another really good conference. We got in kind of on Wednesday. We hosted kind of a little user meetup, and then did the trade show yesterday. And it's always just so special. I mean, well, kind of like you were saying with coffee chats and meeting up with users, like hearing the stories of people that are using Tern every day, hearing the kind of feedback. We had one user, we kind of been talking about mobile and the future of that. Erin came up to me and she's like, I'm on a cruise ship 80% of my life. Like I'm like barely home. And she had one of those like not flip phones, but like, the phones, like they unfold. She's like, I don't have a laptop. I don't have a tablet. I do my entire Tern workflow on this phone. And it was actually kind of amazing. Like she was showing, but it was also like, okay, yeah, like it really was like one of those moments where you're like, okay, like we will continue to invest in mobile, because there's like a lot of people like Erin out there who are trying to work. But that I was like shook. I'm like, I've been in love with my laptop. And so the idea of working exclusively off a mobile phone, like really, really threw me a little bit, but obviously it works. Had another conversation with an advisor, and this was like one of those kind of like just heartwarming and kind of like humbling moments, which is like you kind of sharing the journey that she's been on in building this business. And she's like, I actually like changed host agencies, because the host agency I was using, only offered this kind of itinerary builder. And I was looking at the market, I was looking at, kind of was out there, and I saw that some of these hosts were starting to offer Tern as kind of the system that ran everything. And I was like, that's what I need in my business. And so she literally changed the host that she was with so that she could get a partner with Tern. And I was just like, so cool to see the impact of the tech that we're building actually drive like that big of a business decision. And I think it's really, special to see that, this vertical integration that we talk about is actually driving real impact. So many other stories that we could share. I mean, it's like just so energizing and so fun, kind of having people together. But that is good. I'll do a couple other reminders just here at the top, things that we've got coming up. In that we're sort of in the event season. We're going to be at the Path and ASTA conferences. So if you're attending that, come plan to say hi. We're going to be sharing details with in the kind of community about a user meetup. So that's I think like May 20th or something like that in Salt Lake City, and Path is right before. So we're looking forward to that. We also have our users conference coming up in September, and we announced this week a new payment plan. We know that this is a pretty significant investment. We think it's going to be well worth it, but we want to make sure that people have the flexibility to pay in the way that they need. So if you sign up for that in the month of April, you'll have, I think it's 6 installments over time to help kind of spread that cost out a little bit. And if you split that with a roommate, it's something like $350 a month, I think, that you're paying, which we think is going to be one of the best business investments that folks can make. So really excited about that. And then the last one that is, I was telling somebody at Clia, I was like, I feel like I say this about every webinar, but like for real, this webinar, between the product updates that we have and some other news we have to share, I think is going to be one that we look back on in like 5 to 10 years and we're like, that was a major inflection point, not just for Tern, but for the industry. So really excited about that and a ton of prep to do. We've got a lot of kind of going into that over the next few weeks. So it's been a busy week, which is why it's like we're keeping the energy up here. But let's move on to what kind of happened this week from a product perspective. This is always fun, as I like to joke when I'm traveling. I'm like, what happened while I was gone, y'all? Like, Molly, you want to start? I think we made some pretty big updates to AI, which is like my favorite thing to talk about. So let's go there first.
Yeah, let's do it. So if you caught the podcast last week, we had made a major upgrade to our AI assist within activities. This week we did kind of a similar thing, but for full-on itineraries. So if you're listening and you don't know what this is, when you create a trip in Tern, you can actually import either from another CRM that you're using or a DMC or a supplier that you're working with. You can import like a full itinerary and use that as kind of your starting point for actually building out your trip. Now, after we got a lot of feedback on kind of the initial build out of that, the like importing use case, it wasn't quite optimized enough for it. It would do things like kind of try to nicely summarize content and like add some artistic flair. But that would mean sometimes losing like important things that you like notes that you had for your clients, or even sometimes like embellishing things that weren't as accurate. And then the other thing, it wouldn't actually add like structured rooms. So if you're familiar with Tern, on lodging, you have like a rooms tab with these like nice structured rooms. It would import kind of room information more into the description of the lodging. So it wouldn't add that structure. Same with flights. It wouldn't like actually add the flight leg itself as a structured thing in Tern. So I guess the spoiler, we've fixed all of that. With anything with AI, it's not going to get it 100% perfect. So, we really recommend reviewing and making sure, but we've really kind of overhauled the model that we're using and how it works to make sure that when you're in that like import mode, it's preserving that content and adding it as like structured fields within Tern. So it should go a long way to help with those types of use cases.
It's been so cool too, just like seeing some of the examples, right? It's like building on the work, like you said, that happened last week, where it's like formatting actually sticks, right? And so like you have, instead of just like blocks of text, it's like, oh, actually like formatted very nicely, right? Like it's again, instead of like just dumping like flights, I think is a great example. It used to be the AI importer was like, oh, it's a flight, like I'll just dump whatever flight text into the description and call it a day, right? And now it's like, no, like let's think about this and actually like import it to the smart flights and like make sure people are getting notifications about it. It's like the level of intelligence, I think, that's sort of like backing this has really gone up dramatically and is it's pretty exciting to see.
Yeah, the other just cool thing I think is we've been newly investing, because AI assistive has been around for a while, but in the recent like month, we've been adding a lot of upgrades, destination guides, stuff like that. It's also fun to see like existing advisors kind of rediscover the power of these tools. I see on Facebook people being like, oh, I had never really gotten around to like trying out AI Assist, but then they listened to the podcast or watched a product update and they're using it and they're like blown away by it. So like that's been pretty cool too, just to see the new adoption.
And I'll add a plug too for like sharing these things in Facebook. Like I think I don't know if it was time is a blur, if it was yesterday or this morning, but like somebody posted, they like, hey, I used destination guides not to give you a bunch of tips about the thing, but like my clients were worried about, will I be able to find a bathroom in Europe? And so like literally like wrote a guide on like, for this city, like here's where you can find public bathrooms, right? And like here's the picture of what they look like. And they wrote all of that with the destination guide feature, right? Just by being like, hey, like this is what I need, like go pull this research, like write it all up for me. I'll review it. I'll add the image. But like it was such a cool example that I certainly never would have thought about.
Yeah.
But the comments on Facebook are like, that's so helpful. Like what a practical thing, right? Because people do have anxiety about this. And so I always say like, that's what's so magical about this community is when you like do these things that are like, you may think are obvious or boring, but when you share them on the Facebook community and you kind of talk about them with their advisors, it sparks creativity, it sparks discussion, it sparks ideas for folks. So while we try and talk about the kind of high level features here, I think there's nothing more powerful than you playing with it and sharing what you found and what you think is cool with others.
And we have some other AI updates coming too that I think people will be very excited about. I'm not gonna, go in too much depth, but we're not done yet with those.
We're just getting started. What do we like to say?
Just getting started.
Just getting started. Yeah, I didn't do it with as much dramatic flair as David though, so anyone chills this time, but
that's okay. You gotta sprinkle those in far and few between, or they start to lose the effect, I guess. Yeah. But so excited about that, and I think it's kind of fun. I just got off a call earlier today, and you're sort of thinking about like this mental model almost of like how do you build tools and features and services that like help advisors focus on actually like selling more, servicing their clients, doing the things that you love to do, and spend less time on the admin, on a lot of the like non kind of revenue generating invisible work, right, as we've kind of termed it, right, things that don't actually move the business forward, things that don't actually give you economic benefit. And I think AI is going to be such a big part of that puzzle. So to Molly's point, stay tuned. This is going to be kind of a constant theme probably forever on new things that we're finding to save you time and to streamline your efficiency, which maybe brings us to our next section, which we're calling quality of life updates with Brad. Brad, we've made a bunch of updates here. What do you want to talk about first?
Well, I want like a theme song intro.
No.
Quality of life updates.
I literally thought the same thing. He needs a theme song.
All right. Yeah. So some fun things this week. One use case we're getting better at and getting closer to is if you're just trying to collect credit card authorization for your clients quick, or put together like an invoice in Tern without building a full itinerary. Now you have a home to do that, at least on the pricing tab. You can add any type of item to basically to the trip in Tern. You don't have to think about actually pulling it, dragging, drop it to an itinerary. Now there's just like an add button. You can add any type of item, whether that's a package, a flight, lodging, all those types of things. They all can now be found on the pricing tab. So if that's the mode you're operating in, super quick to just build out that list of things that you want to collect authorization for, or just be tracking on your end that you don't necessarily want to be thinking in terms of a full schedule and itinerary. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, like, just for people who maybe are thinking like that quick add, right, really streamline that workflow, but it also can still kind of convert or like shows up in the itineraries. You want to like, where will people find that on the kind of itinerary that if they wanted to then kind of build it into an itinerary in the future, that they could do that?
Yeah. So if you do set dates when you use the, like, it's not actually called quick add in the product. When you add something from the pricing tab, if you do end up putting a date on it, we will put it on the right day on the itinerary automatically. But if you don't put dates on it, they'll just hang out on the like first kind of like empty block on the trip, which is called like trip details normally.
Day zero. It's called, is it scientific name? Day zero.
Day zero. Yeah, there you go. So those will be there. Everything other than a package. A package never really shows up on the itinerary because there's no like details or description necessarily that would impact your day-to-day itinerary. But that'll just show up on the pricing tab for your clients.
And I think what's like so cool about this, and it is like, we'll talk about kind of a building block to something else, but you look at what I got asked for here, right? It's like a lot of other CRMs just let me like add the pricing details and report the booking like very quickly, or very quickly do credit card authorization. And those tools often don't even have an itinerary builder associated with them, right? And we're like, okay, we still want this idea of like single data entry so that you enter the data once and it can quickly do this, and we want to support the itinerary. And so I think that's like a really cool point, right? Is like, it doesn't matter kind of how you're entering or where you're starting, you're still entering the data once, and you can kind of pick up and add to that, you know, in the future, which is something I think that will be, you know, very unique to Tern. And I think lots of ideas on kind of how that UX evolves over time. But I wanted to kind of highlight that because I think it's kind of special.
Yeah, I think that last point around evolving the UX over time is key. I think what we've recognized is when you try to have all of those flows kind of share the same experience, some things can feel a bit disconnected. So like what you might want for an invoice is on a different tab than what you might want in an itinerary, but some things are shared. So like there's some work behind the scenes to reorganize some of that and make that simpler, kind of regardless of what you're trying to accomplish related to bookings in turn. And then we got a few other quality of life things. Shout out to an advisor, Tim, who on a call with us, he was like, hey, when I think about finding a cruise in the cruise library, yeah, cool. I can search by like name of the cruise line. But really what I want to know is like find the itinerary for this specific ship my clients want to go on. And that's pretty buried today. Can we make it easier? And we did. Now, if you search on the, like when you go to pull in a cruise from the cruise library, you can search now by ship name, cruise name, and there's one other thing that I'm forgetting. Help me out, somebody. Supplier. Oh, okay. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's the new thing there. You can actually search by ship name without needing to go dig through the filters and find that. And we've heard people are excited about that.
Yeah, people are really excited. They've been sharing excitement in the Facebook community. I view this theme of work as like saving users clicks, you know, like just like any click minimization that we can do. That's our goal over the next few months, make it easier to use and reduce clicks. And this has saved, I think I calculated like 5 clicks or something. It's like click, 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 maybe 4 clicks. We saved 4 clicks, but it adds up when you're adding a lot of cruises. So
yeah, for
4
sure.
clicks per search. That's good. Yeah. We should have like a little tally, right? Click eliminated. Yeah. I think that'd be fun.
Yeah.
We need theme song and tally so far. We're creative today.
Yeah, and then one other theme here, we also know that when folks are trying to pick travelers to send updates to on a trip, sometimes they just know an email address that they're looking for, and they want to search by that email address. In the past, you had to search by the client's exact name, or else you couldn't find the person to send the email to. So now we updated this so that you can search by email or name, and really easily send emails that way. And then also, previously, when you published a trip, we would like autofill every client or every traveler on the trip, assuming you wanted to send an email to them, including things like children who don't have an email. So you'd have to like manually remove them all in order to send it. So now anyone who doesn't have an email isn't automatically selected in there. And that should, again, save you some clicks from having to like go through and remove each one before you hit send.
Wow. That's like click per traveler. Like we need like a special category for like scales with, no. That is really cool. I think, and again, like saw a lot of love for this, right? Just like in the efficiency, I'm like, oh my gosh, like it doesn't auto add people without emails, right? And making that more streamlined is very cool. And again, you know, not to tease too much, but like that's just the kind of beginning of some of these like improvements. Those are the quick wins, quality of life updates, right? Whatever we're supposed to call them, quick wins, quality of life updates for this week. One other thing that's sort of been on our mind that we'll kind of tee up is like really just thinking through kind of like what I said earlier, right? Like how does Tern as a platform really continue to help you as an advisor or you as an agency owner focus on the things that like really matter in your business and that you love to do, right? That could be different for everybody, right? It could be like you love crafting the itineraries, you don't love the marketing. It could be that you love selling, I talked to an advisor at Clia, she's like, you get me in a room, like you get me the client and like I will sell them. Like I can close anything, right? And I can find the perfect trip for them. Like that is my thing. But you know, getting all the data into the system, like that's like the part that I don't like as much, right? So everybody's got kind of something different here. And so you know, as we think about the platform really delivering an ability for you to spend time on the thing that you love and the thing that moves your business forward the most, you know, we're kind of interested in this idea of like collaboration. This idea of, you know, some advisors are working with virtual assistants or executive assistants, you know, kind of different names for these things. We know some people work with like marketing freelancers, like there's kind of all these different networks that people are working with. And so from a platform perspective, we're trying to learn more about like, what are these collaboration points? What are the points where people are asking for help in their business? How are you finding that help? and sort of in the early stages of trying to answer this question of like, what role, if any, does Tern have in supporting that from a technology perspective, from an introductions perspective, from a partnerships perspective. And so one of the things that we'll be kicking off probably later this afternoon, maybe live by the time this podcast goes live, is just a survey on what services you're using. This is going to be an anonymous survey, so we're not going to ask for a name, email, anything along those lines. We just ask a couple questions about your business. We can sort of understand kind of where you're at in your journey, and then a bunch of questions. I say a bunch; it should take less than like probably 5 to 6 minutes to complete. But some questions on like, are you using any of these things today? Have you thought about it? What would it look like? And the goal of that really is just for us to get a better kind of sense of what status quo is and kind of what the opportunities, if any, there may be for us to help there. So excited about that. Stay tuned for more details, but keep an eye out for that. If you see that pop up either in the app or you see it being sent to you kind of in the Facebook group or whatever it is, really would appreciate 5 to 6 minutes of your time. It will help us make better decisions on building the platform. So before we move on to next week and what's coming, anything else that we wanna kind of share?
I think so.
I got nothing. It's just, again, so it's like when you're talking about asking people to fill out the survey, I'm just, again, so grateful for the community of advisors. Like in other jobs, trying to get people to fill out a survey to be like, hey, help us make better decisions about our business, you have to like pull teeth. And I just already know that people are going to be jumping on that right away. So thanks in advance.
Yeah, it is really endlessly special, right? Just to kind of see that the feedback, right? Like we've obviously in past episodes kind of talked about, feedback on how we can get better, but it's also like people are just so giving with feedback on both sides of the spectrum, right? Like things that they love, celebrating the wins, celebrating the kind of progress, like telling their stories. And it is so motivating. I said that multiple times to people who kind of shared their story and the impact that Tern's had on their business at Clia. And I was like, it's your stories that motivate us like every single day, right? Like how is this technology actually making a difference? So plus to everything Brad said, which maybe brings us to the kind of week ahead and what we're going to be doing next week. Because every week we're doing something new. We're building some new things. Like we've got a lot cooking. Molly, do you want to kick us off with? I think this is important to some people. I think we've heard this a few times. There's like some buzz about this. What is it again that we're working on?
Yeah, so I know we've talked about invoicing a few times. People are really eager to see it live in the product. I actually did a little sneak peek in the product update this week that I share out on Facebook. So it's pinned to featured in the community if you want to check it out. But yeah, invoicing will definitely release next week. It's coming along. It's looking really, really good. It was a bit harder than we even realized. Like just all of the different states of how pricing can operate within a trip, like installments and partial payments and things are authorized or paid. There's just a lot to do to make sure the invoice kind of covers all those important cases. But it's looking really, really good. I posted in our like Slack internal chat, like, wow, I feel like we're a grown up company now, like having this like really polished, beautiful invoice available. So yeah, we're grown up.
And like, I will have the same overly hyped talk track when we launch invoicing, but like, I just want to double click on what you said there, Molly, because we talk about every time you touch pricing in Tern, it's like, it's way harder than you think it's going to be. Right. And you kind of like look at the space and like, you look at what people expect and it's like, just like, let me have to like type in all the manual line items again. It's like anybody could build that, right? Like that's not hard at all. Like, custom invoice, custom line items, like fine. Right. But that's not how we want to do it. Right. We want to like integrate this with like the same content, enter the data once, look at all the payment configurations and how much was owed, how much was paid, what was authorized, like all this complexity. And we want to make that feel like super easy and approachable so that your invoices are just smart, right? You enter the data once, you manage this that way, it has all the details that you want. So again, like, took us a while to build invoicing, but it's going to be the best out there. Like it's going to be really, really cool.
A while. I think it's like 2 weeks, a week and a half.
Well, not from start it to finish, but like, people have been like, we need invoicing, right? And we knew that it was going to be a bigger project than meets the eye, but it will be worth the wait. And I know it's going to be a huge unlock for people.
I'm so excited to talk about invoicing next week. There's just so many things we do that don't exist on other platforms when it comes to like invoicing for FITs and things like that. We can get into it next week, but I'm just overwhelmed by how great it is, which sounds ridiculous, but it's going to be cool.
It is, right? And you look at, you just look at, it's like the, Yeah, well, anyway, yeah, like it's going to be different. So, anyway, we'll before I get in trouble, we're going to pull out and move on to the next thing, which we're going to be hopefully beta testing ready, which is you, Brad. You're going to talk about that. I'm not going to spoil it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so we've been the last couple of weeks. One of our engineering teams, that sounds fancy, has been working on basically our signature integration to be able to integrate with Signature's marketing platform and push basically we'll push data from Tern to Signature, so you can update your marketing preferences for your clients in Tern, and they'll get pushed to Signature. And then similar, if your clients are making updates in their Signature profile, that stuff will automatically get pulled back into Tern. So we are officially testing it. We've got some stuff running internally, and by the end of next week, we should be ready for our first kind of like beta testing agency. So yeah, we're like making a lot of cool progress there. The way this is going to work is we're going to start with one agency to make sure everything's up and running and good. But then over the next couple weeks, months, I don't know exactly the timeline here, we'll start bringing on more agencies. So yeah, definitely, if you're not already talking to someone at Tern about like integrating with Signature and getting that set up, definitely reach out and we'll add you to the list to make sure we're in touch as we get closer.
And one other thing, just like kind of a plug related to all of this, one thing that we're working with Signature on is the way that like contact records work in Tern, with having like every single traveler kind of be a top level contact with their own email address, even if it's like a 5-year-old kid. Like sometimes they'll have like mom's email. Like some of that actually doesn't fit quite how like their concept of contacts. And so we've gotten this feedback for a while from advisors. They're like, I don't necessarily want like kids' records to be like completely divorced from the mom and like have their own email. So we're basically just like digging into this problem space, I would say, and very much in like research mode of, if you had a magic wand, how would you want like the hierarchy of contacts and like email addresses and like families and relationships to work. So if you have opinions on this, we would love to hear from you. You can just shoot me an email at molly@tern.travel. Because yeah, we're in research mode. It's a problem that we want to solve, both to make the Signature integration smooth, but also just to improve everybody's experience, because we've gotten this feedback pretty consistently for a while.
That'll be huge. And plug also kind of what Brad said, if you're a part of a consortium, right, whether it's Signature and the other ones, like our goal is that over time, we've got a similar sync with all of these, right? And again, going back to like enter the data once, like you should be able to, whether you're an agency owner, you're an advisor, like use Tern, opt into these kind of different marketing options that your consortium may offer, and it should just automatically sync, right? And if your consortium pushes data back, like it should be able to handle that. And so, Signature is in the works. Like Brad said, like we should be beta testing it very, very shortly. So, you'll need to talk with Signature about that if you're interested. But you are also working on Virtuoso, which will probably be, kind of the next one up after that. For these consortium, what they like to know is like how important these are for their members, right? So like while these are kind of already on the roadmap, it does help for them to know what interest is and help them prioritize kind of the internal work that they need to do to work with our teams. So you can reach out to us, you can reach out to your consortium and just say like, hey, no pressure, but like we'd be interested in this when it becomes available. And that will help make sure that they prioritize it in all the things that they have to do. So little shout out there. And moving on, kind of last thing is, the next week is another kind of board meeting for us. So we do quarterly board meetings and kind of get that group together. So that'll be in person in New York. We try and do in-person ones every so often. A lot of them are virtual, but this is a big one. We've got some kind of big conversations, big things that we'll kind of be teeing up and aligning on ahead of the kind of next phase of Tern's growth. And so looking forward to that. It'll be a lot of prep work, a lot of kind of working as a leadership team, right, to kind of make sure things are ready for that. And we'll have more to share on kind of the outcome of that, probably at the webinar on May 15th. So another plug for registering there. And other than that, it should be another fantastic week at Tern. We can't wait to tell you all about it next week on the podcast. So again, plug for subscribing and turning on those notifications. And it's been a fantastic episode of Flight Path. Brad, I think we brought the energy. I think we made it happen.
We did. Now go sleep if you can.
I was gonna say, yeah, I'm like in this weird, highly caffeinated, but it's very tired state. So I don't know what I'll do. but it probably won't be sleep, but it probably won't also be very productive. So we'll see where that goes. Brad, have a fantastic weekend with your parents. Molly, we didn't talk about your weekend. Anything different?
202 survival.
Yeah. Good luck with that. Another weekend warrior. And we'll see y'all next week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.